Hi, my name is Andrew Taylor Williams, and this is my digital story. I have asked my friend Karina to help tell the story of the Indigenous people of my community. Take it away, Karina.
Bonjour, Annie. My name is Karina Deportier. I am a member of Eagle Village First Nation, and that's in Témiscamingue, Quebec. I've been working for the last 17 years for Indigenous Services Canada. I was asked by Taylor to come and answer some questions, to give an interview on some Indigenous communities within the area of Durham region. Durham region was very rich in First Nations as well as Métis. Mississaugas of Scugog, they originally occupied Durham region, but they were driven from this area. In the year 1700, the Mississaugas are a branch of a greater Ojibwe nation, one of the largest native groups in Canada. Mississauga people secured all their needs from the surrounding environment, Mother Earth, hunting, fishing, harvesting, plant material for food, and medicines. Having just lost the American War of Independence, British refugees came flooding north into Upper Canada seeking new land. What that meant is that they took over the lands. So even when they took the lands from the First Nation people, it was given to non-Native people. So, there were a lot of injustice that were done to Indigenous people. And when we talk about, war and different things like that, we can talk about when the European settlers came over, and when they came over, they had smallpox, for example, that wiped out many First Nations communities, took them out. Because they had no immunity. They were never exposed to, outsiders outside of their communities. So they brought disease with them, and that took out a lot of our First Nation communities. Basically, all First Nations, they were their own autonomous. They didn't need government to take care of them. They didn't need help from anyone. They were able to hunt, trap, and through their crafts and the way that they lived, they were completely independent on their own. When we start to look and we start to talk about the treaties, that's where you see that they lost their autonomy. And that's because and the other thing to understand about the treaties that were signed, they weren't educated and they didn't speak the language. And so when those treaties were signed, they were taken advantage of and their lands were taken from them and they were driven off their lands. So when the First Nations signed those treaties, they did it because they trusted, and they signed those treaties because they wanted to share. They wanted to share their land with the government, right? And that's even in terms of culture and their beliefs, our beliefs, we know that we see ourselves as the stewardess of the of the environment. So you'll always see a lot of activists happening around different initiatives that pipelines and different things like that, because we know that those could damage and destroy Mother Earth. Those lands were taken from us. They were never meant to be surrendered. There's still, for example, Wikwimikwong First Nation, if you go into their community, it will say Wikwimikwong unceded. And what that means is that they did not sign the treaty. So that means that their land, for example, is their land. But for many other First Nations across Ontario, they did surrender their lands unknowingly. The residential schools, they came and they took the babies and the children from the homes, and they took those children because they wanted to take the native out of them. They figured if they westernized them that they would do much better in society, right? And so when they took those children, they raped, they beat, they murdered. A lot of those children never ever went home. They never returned home after those residential schools. With the 60 scoop, again, they would take these children and put them up for adoption. So they would go into these homes and randomly take these children and put them up for adoption. So there are a lot of children that grew up and didn't even know. I mean, they knew they looked different, their skin was brown and different things like that, but they did not know that they were Native. So you'll see a lot of settlements for residential school survivors as well as the 60 scoop. There's ongoing legislation and stuff like that. So now with the Canada Human Rights Tribunal order, it's in place now to make things, to correct the wrong that happened, right? So, and I guess that's it.
In my opinion, I believe the Indigenous people got the short end of the stick with the treaties, the land being taken away, the wars, the residential schools, the 60s scoop, and more. And we do not know much about the Indigenous people, and though we're slowly helping. So I hope we learn more about the Indigenous and we help the Indigenous people faster. And I hope you enjoyed this video and my friend Karina. That is all.